This one is called factored form. Everyone say factored form?
Factored.
Class, how do you know it's factored form?
Because it has two parentheses.
Two sets or pairs of parentheses. There they are. Well, notice here it has the letters A. The X's are just the variables, and the R stands for roots. Everyone say roots? Roots is basically another word for where it crosses the x-axis. Well, what are some key characteristics about our factored form? The axis of symmetry, the pink line that folds your parabola in half, you'll solve for x, and you're basically finding the midpoint. You add the two roots together and divide by 2. That's how you'll find this value here. For example, here if I solve for x, x plus 1 equals 0, and x plus 5 equals 0, you'll get x equals negative 1 and x equals negative 5. Class, what's negative 1 plus negative 5? And negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. So notice how my graph here is at x equals negative 3. Okay? Another good thing about the axis of symmetry for all of your parabolas, this point here in blue is called the vertex, and your axis of symmetry, or I should say it the other way, your vertex is on your axis of symmetry. Back in geometry, that would be called a collinear point. How do you find an x-intercept? Well, highlighted here in yellow is you take your factored form, those parentheses, and you set them equal to 0, the equation equal to 0. Let's use this one. And then you're going to factor it. Well, it's already in factored form because it has the parentheses. And then you're just going to solve these. 2 equals 0, x minus 1 equals 0, and x minus 5 equals 0. Class, can 2 ever equal 0?
No.
No, so this part here is a no solution. How do you solve for x here?
X equals 1.
X equals 1 and x equals 5. And those are our 2 points here and here. We already talked about the concavity. Concavity is just a fancy word if it is a graph opening up or down. Here my A value, is it positive or negative? Class, is it positive or negative?
Positive.
So it opens what?
Up.
Up. A value, positive or negative?
Negative.
Opens down. A value, positive or negative? Opens up. How do you find the vertex? You're going to use the equation above to find x, and then you'll substitute it into your equation to find y. Okay? So, raise your hand if you watch football on the weekends. A common thing now is, for punters who are kicking a punt, is your hang time. The hang time is how long the ball lasts in the air. It's no longer how far can you kick it, because it's dangerous to kick it to a player who can run it back for a touchdown. So what they'll do is they're calculating, once you calculate the time from here, you can just double your time and you can figure out how long the hang time was. So a lot of times they'll put the timer on the clock, and sometimes they'll even calculate how high the football is going. And the last part, to find your y-intercept. Y-intercept is where it's crossing the y-axis. You make x equals 0, and you can solve for your y. For example, let's use this problem. If I'm going to make my x value 0, class, 0 plus 1? 0 plus 5. So what is 2 times 1 times 5? 10. So if it's hard to see on that part right there, you can identify that it is 10. And this is the factored form. Again, you'll notice it's in the factored form with the two sets of parentheses.